But anyway, all right. So let's go back to math. All right. So we went through. This is number 11 from our homework over the weekend, and I did elimination. So I took the second equation, multiplied by 3, and eliminated the y's. Assess that this is not factorable, so therefore going to continue. All right, so the opposite of 7, negative. I made the leading coefficient positive. And then keep going, and you end up with 7 squared, 49. I ignored the negative because you should never have a negative number there. Now I'm going to yell. All right? People that I've seen, and I do have your little quizzes from a couple days ago, I think. I forgot when we did those little half sheet quizzes. Maybe it was Wednesday. I'm going to pass it back tomorrow as a learning tool. Like, what did I do wrong? Compass some people, I guess, before our 2-day test, Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm getting people that are just not, they don't have the quadratic formula memorized, and there's nothing I can do for you. You need to know the parts. You need to have 7 plus minus, then you need square root of 7 squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You need the plus minus. You need everything in their spots, mathematically written, not ignoring the denominator. The denominator's there, blah, 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 blah. So I'm seeing a handful, very small handful of students that don't have this memorized and can't get the parts in the spots where they belong. By the way, I'm already done with this one. I don't even need to grab my calculator to understand what kind of answer I have here. What kind of answer do I have immediately? Go ahead. I can't hear you. A negative, but what kind of answer is that? The square root of a negative is a what? I need that. It's an I number. So I'm going to stop there. I can see I have 49 minus a big product. This is minus a positive. So what does that mean in context of this question? In a real coordinate plane, do these intersect, yes or no? No, it's just like I number zeros. It's just like I number zeros when we're trying to find x intercepts. When we have I number zeros and the parabola goes up, it doesn't cross the x-axis, or if it's down, it doesn't cross the x-axis, it's below. So this means there is no intersection, so there is no solution. I guess we should further say maybe no real solution. I don't want you to confuse this. If I just have on the test Wednesday and or Thursday, just solve this quadratic, you have to get the I number solutions. When we have a system on the test, I'll make sure that they do probably have answers, or at least, because I don't want you to confuse, do I continue or not, kind of thing. And I guess that's a valid question. In the sense of this question, there's no real intersection, so you do tend to stop on there. Okay, and I think here's another thing that's going wrong. When I say this, the doing this right. There's my email. Sorry. When I give you this this form of a worksheet, the answers are actually on pages 3 and 4. Right? I'm getting people that turn in homework where the answers aren't even close to being sensical. They're not even at all what we see here. All right. And then I question that because eventually I know I don't want you to stare at this, but I do eventually want you to access this and look at it. And then if you do have a wrong answer, you do something about it. You find your own mistake, error analysis on your own, not waiting for somebody else. You do it and you figure out what you did wrong. And then that's where you're going to improve. But if you decide not to do that, then that's why you're in the position that you're in. All right. And I'm being honest. I do scan your homework real quick and hit those stamps. I'm looking at some of yours and like this is just not happening. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right. So just make sure you know that it is only October. What do we got? October 4th. And don't worry about all these things. You say this is way too many word problems. We're not going to do all these. But we got a lot of points left. I would surmise that we have at least 60 to 70% of our points left. I don't think we got a test coming up early October. I don't know how many more units we're going to hit, but we got a lot going on here. So there's time to make some changes. And not everyone needs to. Most of the people are right in line here. All right, go ahead and turn in that worksheet. The blabber around about this. Flower. Okay. Sorry for the lull in the movie over there. I can't pause that movie software. It's like I can only stop it and then restart it, and it'll be two movies. I don't want to splice them. Get ready. Oh. And then I looked at the homework that we have online, and there's something missing. But I'm going to go ahead and go through the notes and then tell you a little bit of a problem with the homework listed. And I should have caught it earlier, but on tomorrow's review, I'll make sure we have the question that I want on there. But it's this one. This is going to miss our homework tonight. But I'm going to go ahead and put it down real quick and ensure and give you and tell you for sure that this will be on the test Wednesday or Thursday. We are doing a Wednesday, Thursday test because they're both shortened days. Wednesday's Wednesday, it's a normal Wednesday, but that's shorter, 39 minutes. And then Thursday, I think you get out before 1, correct? That's 12:40, you already know? Okay, so I got to get that thing, that schedule. And then it's, I got lined up to meet some parents. That's, what do you call it? Conferences. So we're going to split up the test into 2 days, and then that will give you a 4-day weekend free of math. All right, so really charge up this week and get this done. Okay, so I stopped there just because, in our last quiz, you didn't even have to have this memorized. It just gave you the formula, so you got lucky there. I wanted it where you had to plug in the parts. Negative 16 t squared. Negative 16 is half of negative 32 feet per second. That's what gravity is on our heads. And then what's V stand for? 3, 2, 1, go. Velocity, the velocity that you throw an object straight up in the air. Times t, time again. And then what's H stand for? 3, 2, 1, go. Height, and then H sub 0 is initial height. I'm glad you said initial height. I was just asking, what does H stand for in this question? And I like that writing it like this, which I'm not sure I have. Sometimes you just write Y and X, all right? And I think that's what's going to be written down here. But H over time, the height of the object over time, and this is just throwing it straight up, straight down. Okay, and then solving quadratics, we just got some other situations that happen that are common. Okay, so Mrs. Masola likes doing I can statements. We were supposed to do that back in the day. I don't think students could care less about that, but that's what we're going to do. Quadratic real-world situation in both ways. All right, so here's the first couple questions. Go ahead and write those down, and I guess we can just look at this, and many of the questions are worded like this in the beginning of your homework. The number is 2 more than its square. Another one is, I kind of jacked this one a little bit, but Julie is 5 years older than Jill. I could kind of do a reversal on what I did last hour, and it would be fine. Some of the word questions are like that. There's only 7 questions tonight. Unfortunately, in the thing, I caught it too late. There is no negative 16t squared question in the homework, which, and I can't go in the document and change it because then I'll change Mrs. Fasola's document. I don't want to share it between 3 teachers here. Hopefully, it isn't a big deal. On the review, I'll synthesize it, what kind of word problems you'll have to worry about. It won't be too bad. Okay, a number is 2 more than its square. First of all, as you're writing this down, hopefully we can hang with me here so we can get these notes going. What does the word is mean in math? Let's see if we all know. If you know, answer 3, 2, 1, go. Equal, right? That's really a good thing. Translating the question. Okay, so, yeah, and I guess I could do that in number 2. I could really approach 2 way different than I did the other hour using that is idea. to get something going on here. But you don't want to be robotic either. So whatever. Whenever we say a number, I don't know what that number is. So we'll call it x. That's usually the most common variable. Right? So a number, I don't know what it is, so I'll call it a variable. Is 2 more than its square. First of all, it's square. What's 2 more than? Okay, what do we get for that? What is that? Is that times 2 or plus 2? 3, 2, 1. Put that Chromebook away, by the way, sir. Looking up the TikTok challenge, I know it. All right, so what is that? Plus or multiply? 3, 2, 1, go. Plus. Okay, so it's x squared plus 2. Now let's see if this has a nice solving situation, because it's kind of weird. All right, so to solve for this, x squared, subtract x, and then plus 2 equals 0. I don't think we're going to get a real number for this. It might end up being imaginary. Very strange question. So it didn't say the number had to be real, and it doesn't say to solve, but that's just how you continue to solve, and we might make this more solvable that we get a real number, and I don't want to confuse you. But I really do feel like that's going to be an imaginary solution, or maybe a radical solution, because it certainly doesn't factor, right? What multiplies the 2? That had to be 2 positives or 2 negatives, and those could not possibly add to -1. So proceed on and go to the quadratic formula. I think this would produce an I number situation. We want to keep these real word problems real, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Hey, what does the word is mean? Is means what? Equal. So we could do this. I don't like that it's Julie and Jill because it's J. That's 2 J's. So I'll call Julie X and Jill Y. I did not do this with the other hour. We just figured out what the situation was. But we could do this. Julie is 5 years older than Jill. That means Julie is X. Now, what we can do with Jill is put her in terms of X, which means, and this is what we figured out in our class here, that's what Jill is. She's 5 years younger than Julie. So here's Julie, X. Jill is now X minus 5. And then that's how we can solve this, getting them in the same variable. We just actually figured it out. We just said, what's Julie? X. If Julie is X, Jill would have to be 5 years younger, because Julie's 5 years older. One way or the other, the final solution for this is Julie plus Jill equals 32. So really try to make sense out of that. It said Julie is 5 years older. That means Jill is 5 years younger. All right, and that's what we basically inserted. And that's a very solvable and easy question to continue on, but it just says set it up. Okay, done with these little basic things. If you need help on the questions tomorrow, certainly we'll open it up for that and then continue with our review. I have a feeling, Howie, I'm going to break up the test. The word problems part will probably be Thursday, along with our special things that we've done lately, solving systems and what was the other thing? We solved systems over the weekend. Oh, absolute or inequalities. The whole idea of graphical analysis on that. Okay, so here we go. The equation, and then went back to y and x. All right, and a lot of times they do put it in these terms. Just remember, y is the height over time, and then x is the time. Fumble back there. So the equation blah represents the height in feet of a flotation device above the water after x seconds. The linear term represents the initial velocity, as we said. The constant term represents the initial heights. Okay, so according to this question, with the picture, you're not going to probably have time to draw, nor should you. But just looking up here, they're saying this person is 15, or this is like a certain amount of feet plus the hands. That's 15 feet above the water. 1, 2, 3, throw. All right. So that's the initial height because 15 is right there. We should recognize these parts. Okay. All right, and hopefully you can see that first question in small writing. When will the device be at its highest points? What is that height? Okay, what do I have to find for this parabola in letter A? You've already done this. 3, 2, 1, go. Vertex. And if you don't know negative b over 2a, you're doomed. And it is you and nobody else. There's very few that did not put negative b over 2a on our last big quiz. Most everyone did know this. I mean, with the exception of a couple handful of people. So negative b over 2a. I really got to question that too when we had numerous worksheets and assignments that we had to use that over and over and over again. How could I have a student not put negative b over 2a once on the quiz? We got to get going. All right, that's negative 10 over negative 32. And then this becomes positive 5 over 16, right? And sure, just say it. It's 5/16 of a second. You don't have to turn that into a decimal. It's not a law. Just it's less than a second. It's very fast. Like it just goes up and then 10 feet per second as a throw is not very strong. All right, so that's why that does not take much time. Then I'm going to show you a skill on your calculator. Clear. I want to clear. Let's get this here. Oh, now my fat face is in the way here. I got to move myself over here. Clear. You might want to do this. Actually, I'm going to show a couple calculations just to help you on the calculator. And then talk about, well, I won't jump ahead of myself. All right, here's what you want to do. 5 divided by 16. Sorry that my screen's real small here, but I do want to see the equation at hand here. So what am I going to do with that 5/16? I'm going to store it. So I'll play along with this and follow me, and you might use this in the future. And I'm going to store that in the x value position right here. So 5/16, storing it in x, press enter. And then guess what? Hit X and press enter. That will not change until you change it. X will equal that. It won't screw up anything in the future. But when I do calculations on this main screen, X is saved as 5/16. And now what I could do, input, by the way, what's the next word? Input what? Output. This is what I have to do. I have to find the Y. Now I'm in the way again. Oh, Mr. Samuelis. I don't know why I got to have my thing going there, like my picture on this. I just want to show that I am in class. You want to substitute that negative. You want to input that 5/16. And then we can do that with the graphing calculator. So I just wanted to make sure you know what I'm doing here. So here we go. Negative 16. And now I'm allowed to just type X instead of having to write 5/16 over and over and over again. So X squared plus 10x, but x is now read as in the calculator as 5/16 plus 15. Press enter, then boom shakalaka. I get 16.56. I may have shown you that before, but maybe not. So 16.56 feet. 16.56 feet. So I do like showing you that little skill there. It could be helpful in the future. Is a nice feature. I use it a lot. Actually, I use it a lot if I want to convert your grades, like kind of like curve them in a good way. I use the little multiplier that I save for x, and then I hit your original grade times x to change it to the new one. So it's something I use quite a bit on the calculator. All right, when will the device hit the water? Who is what number? All right, when the device hits the water. Okay, fine. I'm going to go to y. What does y have to be when the device hits the water? 3, 2, 1, go. 0. So that's what we're solving now. Here's the difference. This question we've already tested you on. That was on the topic 4 test. No, is that right? Topic 3. I think we did the negative 16t squared formula. I don't remember. Topic 4. I don't know where we're at. The chapters are all goofy. We number them as. It's the problem of not having a definitive book that. So that's what we have to solve there. This is certainly not factorable. I won't bore you with, is this factorable? Let's go through an MA analysis. So it's the quadratic formula. Oh, I'm sorry. I changed it to T's because they should really be T's, but I'll go back to X's. Keep it with context of this question, or they used X. So the opposite of 10, plus or minus the square root of 10 squared minus 4ac, so 4 times negative 16 times 15. These numbers are huge, all over 2a. And I know sometimes I get through a fraction thing with you guys and start doing fractions that take 5 minutes to simplify. So I want to remind you of how to deal with fractions because it is coming up. But in this case, we're going to the calculator. So I don't have a plus minus button, so I got to take these one at a time. Negative 10 plus the square root. Notice I didn't do any fractions because I'll show you what I do. 100 minus 10 squared is 100. I just do the squaring. Minus 4a. Of course, a is negative 16. And then c was 15, correct? Look at how I type it exactly as is, except for the fractional part. Now I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to divide by the bottom. And the bottom was, is it 2 times negative 16? The bottom is negative 32. If you put 2 times 16 there, negative, you're going to be wrong if you don't have parentheses around the whole denominator. That's why I do some calculations to make sure I don't make mistakes in that sense as well. Enter. What is x supposed to be? Negative 7.0. What is x supposed to be? It starts with a T, everyone. Time. What does negative 0.7 seconds mean? We went in the what? We went in the past. Okay, now is that a viable answer? What this is reading is at 0 seconds, we're at 15 feet, then it goes up, and then it goes down and hits the water. What it's reading is, oh, okay, 7 seconds in the past, then this would be at ground zero. That's what it's reading. Is that what really happened in this question? Yes or no? No. So we kind of throw that out. But it is a valid answer in context of the question. They're saying if this was a continuous situation, then in the past, this would have started at ground zero. Okay, but in context of this question, it doesn't really make sense. All right, so hopefully you understand that as well. And then here's how I deal with this. Hopefully you have this feature if you have a newer 84. If not, you have to retype everything. Some people have those old 83s. That's fine. Those are still very valuable. And you're able to retype this as is, but insert a minus instead of a plus. And then divide by negative 32. So I think it's worth going through this time. Type it on the calculator, 1.33. So x equals 1.33 seconds. I did that last hour. I forgot about the E or the S there. So in 1.33 seconds, it'll hit the water. Now we can answer this question, though. All right, so we had this negative 16t squared on our last test. I know we did. Now we can answer when does it hit the water instead of just answering the max height. Okay, then I like this question because it exercises the formula a little bit more. We should be more responsible, meaning I should make you responsible for knowing the formula and how to insert the numbers. So we'll see if that happens. The initial velocity is 0. When should the flotation device hit the water? Okay, so here's letter A. When it's the initial velocity of 0, then this formula turns into negative 16t squared plus 0t. We're still going to be at 15 feet above to start, so we'll still put that plus 15 there. The reason I like this one is, how do I solve this? Fumble, oh my gosh, a complete destruction over there. 0t goes away. I'll help you over there, get those arms folded. All right, and then how do I solve this when the flotation device hits the water? We put a 0 here, and then what is the best method to solve for this, which some people are not selecting, almost never select this method? Is it factoring, or is it square rooting both sides, or is it quadratic formula? 3, 2, 1, go. Square rooting. I got people doing the quadratic formula on this. All right. I don't think factoring is going to work either. I don't have a difference of two squares. So the very next thing you should do is subtract 15. It's not going to be pretty here. And actually, I'm a little out of order here, but it does work out all right. What's a negative divided by a negative, by the way? Positive. All right, and then I guess what we could do is just not worry about simplifying fractional square roots. We could go back to our calculator. But you do better understand that there's 2 times plus minus. But what's a negative time mean? I went back in the, anyone? I went back in the past, which we don't really care about. We're talking about just, and by the way, what's the zero initial velocity? What am I actually doing with the object? I'm just dropping it, all right, like it's hot. All right, so you can go ahead and take the square root of 15/16 and then get that decimal. Has anyone got it? Come on, help me out. I'm going to speed up the notes a little bit. Oh, poor lonely Mr. Samuelus. Hopefully he doesn't get slapped today. I'm ready. Did you get it? What'd you get? What is it? 0.97. Okay, so 0.97, and we're going to ignore the negative. It's just in 0.97 seconds, this should hit the water, all right, if you're 10 feet above. And then if the initial height is 0, we're going to go back to our initial velocity, though, of not 0. What was our initial velocity? 10 in the original question. But we're going to keep that, bring that back, but then say the initial height is 0. So we're at water level, and then we throw it up, and then it comes up and down. Okay, how are we going to solve this one? Is it going to be factoring, square rooting, or quadratic formula? 3, 2, 1. Nobody said anything. You were all afraid. You got to say something. I'm going to make you say something. Factoring, square rooting, or quadratic formula? You ready to say something now? Don't ignore me. 3, 2, 1, go. It's actually factoring. Did you say something? These stupid maths. I can't tell if you actually said something or not. It's actually factoring. What kind of factoring is this going to be? Starts with a G. Hey, that rhymed. Greatest. Anyone? Common factor, GCF. The most you can pull out, and I like getting out that negative. I just like it. And then this is, I almost made a mistake. That's -5. Good factors are good distributors. They check. I made a mistake. I'm pulling out a negative, but I kept that plus. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was all jacked up last hour making mathematical mistakes on a Monday morning, but I was able to catch myself. That's the point of good FOILers, good factors, good distributors, good factors. You shouldn't be writing answers that don't make sense. With a double negative, I don't care. By the way, when you set this equal to 0, 0 product property, and this equal to 0, 0 product property, my pen's not writing, then this is 0, and that should make sense. If I went to ground level, at what time is the thing at ground level? 0 seconds, right? And then it's going to go up and then come back down, and in 5/8 of a second, it will hit the ground again. So that's if you're at 0, and that's hard to do, but I guess it's like some sort of machine that's at ground level, and it shoots it up like a catapult. Okay, enough of that formula. Unfortunately, and I'm not going to change it because it's too late. I didn't organize the homework well enough, and it's Mrs. Fasola's. I'm not ripping on her, but I can't change her document because she's using it with her class. But the -16t squared did make the homework. One of the couple in the beginning, and then some stuff like this with area is mainly on there, and it's 7 questions only, so don't worry about it too much. You don't have to write the questions out. It's the old look at the worksheet and put it on a separate sheet of paper kind of thing. Okay, so this is, since I've been teaching in the mid-90s, these questions are so popular. I'm not sure why. There must be a lot of real-world applications, the old trying to maybe area or manufacturers trying to increase or decrease area of boxes or whatever they're dealing with. What kind of results could happen, kind of thing. So this is just a Mickey Mouse example like that. So a museum has an outer steel wall with a uniform width of X. The area of the museum vault and the outer steel wall together is 1664. What is the width of the outer steel wall? So just the ability to algebraically set up this situation does have applications out in the real world. I was thinking out loud of some companies that this would be the case. We brought Citgo in here before, talked about some engineering opportunities there for students. And I know Citgo does a lot of mathematics to figure out maximization of things in their jobs. So, whatever. So, on the interior of this, that's what this is marked as. So, the interior is very simple. The interior's area from here to here is 20 by 40. So, that's that area. But it's all of this area, all of this yellow, that is the 1664. Okay, so we have to include those massive steel walls there. So here's how we do this. Of course, it's length times width. I guess I'll put this here and here and be ready to, what is the total length and width? So what's this from here to here? Well, shouldn't be that hard to figure out that if this is X and this is another X, uniform width all the way around, this is 40 plus this X plus that X, that's this L all the way on the outside. So the length of the whole situation is 40 plus each X, which will end up being 40 plus 2X. Same exact thing happens with the width. We have 20 on the interior, but then we have an X here and an X here. So this is 20 plus X plus X. I'm going to write it like that, but then we actually use it, we're going to make it 2X. So knowing that basic rectangle area is length times width, let me make that area. Now let's make it length times width equals area. I like that. This should be an easy solve. Watch what happens with this though. This is nice numbers. Length is 40 plus 2X. Width is 20 plus 2X. And the area for somehow is known to be 1664. The ability to algebraically write out this situation. Ain't no thing, chicken wing. Next thing is you got to solve. So we do have to FOIL. This goes back to our worksheets back in the day, way back in the beginning of this chapter, where it's not equal to 0. Since it's not equal to 0, we got to FOIL, get it equal to 0, and then see what we can do after that. 4 times 2 is 8, so this is 8 hundo. This is 80. This is 40. Your ability to FOIL and keep things in line and organized. Some people that are disorganized with their work, that is the biggest problem. Not keeping their structures. Believe me, 90% of you, I enjoy it. Your work is amazing. It's incredible and looks just like this. Not that I'm bragging about my work, but you really have gone into that. Those that have your work scratched all over the place with no organization, your brain's scattered. All right, and then that's why we're not doing as well as we should be. So keep in mind why I show notes. You try to emulate this. In the long run, it makes you better. All right, makes you more successful mathematically. Next thing I'm going to do is get this in standard form. So I'll write the 4x squared first. 80 and 40 is 120. And then minus 800, another 800 is 1600. So this is negative 864. Before I start trying to solve this through either the quadratic formula or factoring, I know something about 4 and 120. So I would take this and divide it by what, just to check. Anyone? 4. And it does. Could someone do that for me? I'm going to divide all these by 4. And they do reduce down quite a bit. Anyone do that for me? It looks like Nora, you're the only. Okay, Crystalline. 120.
No, sorry. 216.
216. Yeah. Okay, that was 5 times that I couldn't write an equal sign. That was fun. Now, this is factorable. You know what I would key off of is 30. Like 31 and -1. That's ridiculous. What's 31 times -1? -31. And then you keep going, and I'll wait for somebody to tell me what the numbers actually are. What two numbers multiply to be -216 and add to be 30? And you do want to use your calculator to do the multiplying. This is interesting. Not many people are doing anything in my second hour. So is anyone going to try to find the numbers for me? Let your brain stretch out a little bit. Pop up your hand when you know it for sure. So I gave you a clue. You start with 30. 31 and -1. Well, that's silly. I should keep going and spreading out those numbers a little bit more. A sum, that's 30, but then those same two numbers multiply to be -216. The -216 is correct, right? Otherwise, we got a problem. Yes? 6 and 36, but which one's negative? 6. So what does that mean, though? That's our factoring numbers. 36 and -6. Good FOILers are good factors. We double check. X squared? Sure. This is why I said key off of 30 and get a sum that equals 30. Yes. Okay, well, here's why. This is -6x and positive 36x. That gives me the 30x in the middle. And then, of course, you checked on your calculator. 36 times -6 is -216. Totally sensical. But what does x equal? -36 and x equals 6. Which answer does not make sense for this question? Which answer doesn't make sense for this specific question? -36. This solves this and solves the original, but this doesn't make sense in a real world question. So you got to really, make sense out of your answers depending upon the question that you're answering. If this was just to solve this quadratic, then you'd leave it. But since it's a real world length question, you don't leave it. You get rid of it. And by the way, that's not the answer. The answer is, what is the width of the outer steel wall? You simply plug it in. Do make sure you answer it at the end. 32 feet. I don't know. Mickey Mouse little word problem is just the ability to read a question and make math out of it. Make an equation out of it and then be able to solve it is the skill that we're looking for there. Okay, I'm done.